For the third year and counting, Richard Skipper has been celebrating the artists you love.
And what are some of the things that you've really run out of time? And we've got to talk about your latest. I want to go back a little bit, first of all, and celebrate a true legend.
Richard Skipper is all about celebrating life, art, and his guest body of work.
And did you pursue performing opportunities while you were in high school?
Please join us while he showcases these diverse and talented individuals. Here's Richard Skipper.
Happy Tuesday, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of Richard Skipper Celebrates. Who or what are you celebrating tonight? As you know, with all of my shows, I believe that there's something to celebrate each and every day if we take the time to do so. And the real mission of this show is to celebrate artists and their body of worth. Worth, not work, although the work is there. And I'm so excited about our guest tonight. Lee Purcell is a working actress who is still very much in the game. And we're going to talk about her past, her present, and her future tonight. But before we begin, I'd like to introduce you to her latest project, and then we will see her on the other side. And I am so excited that she's here tonight. You have no idea. Here it is, Carol of the Bells.
I'm expecting a package.
You want me to sign for it?
No, I need to see the guy.
Scott, you've been consumed with trying to find your biological mother for a year now. We have the money. Why didn't you just take it out of our personal account?
Sorry, those are the bricks, buddy.
Your information can't be right.
I don't understand, Scott. She's living in an assisted living facility that her parents created for her. Grandmother's the one calling all the shots now.
We spent a small fortune trying to find his biological family, and now he just wants to forget about the whole thing. What do you mean forget about it? Is there something you're not telling me?
Everything you need to know is in that box.
Hello, can I help you?
I'm looking for Carol Harris.
Oh, she's right over there next to those bells. All volunteers have to fill out some paperwork. She could use some assistance with her handwriting.
How about we write a letter? Yeah. Who would you like to write a letter to? My son.
I don't know how I could have any kind of relationship with her. I need you to let go.
I can't, Scott. I'm a mother.
Hi. Who are you?
I'm a volunteer.
A young, pregnant woman visited Carol this morning.
Carol must have taken her back there on her own.
If you can't provide proper supervision for my daughter, I will find someone who can. I want you to stop visiting her. It's just too disruptive to her life.
I helped Carol with her handwriting, and this is a letter she wrote to Scott. I miss you every day. I want you to come home to me. Please don't be mad at my mommy for making you go away.
I was so convinced I was doing the right thing back then.
What matters is what you do now.
I want sweet.
And what if Daddy doesn't get a Christmas tree?
That's okay. No Christmas makes him sad.
We all have things in our past. This has always been a very difficult time of year.
I miss my baby boy.
Carol poured her heart into these performances. She's always sizing up the crowd. That's Carol, or as I like to refer to her, Carol of the Bells. That has a nice ring to it.
Wow. Hello, Lee. How are you?
Good, Richard. How are you doing?
I am doing great. First of all, I want to apologize to everyone. We were having a little technical issues, but we are here now, and I am thrilled that you were here. And I begin every show, that looks like it's worth celebrating, but I begin every show by asking my guest, who or what are you celebrating today?
Well, this is going to sound kind of odd. My dog, because we got a new-ish dog. We had the terrible loss of our 2 dogs.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's terrible. Who died 11 months apart, and the house was just empty, and yeah, I didn't get teary about it, and ringing with silence. And I couldn't take it, so I searched and went online and registered with all the various rescue groups. And we had a very disappointing, very long trip to a particular rescue center really far away. And when we got there, they said, oh, we just adopted that dog out, which they had agreed not to do. And so that was really heartbreaking. So we went home with an empty, dog car bed, and very sad. So I kept searching, and we got this absolutely incredible maniacal dog. He's very young, so he's pretty crazy right now, but he's starting to calm down. And so every day is, I'm telling you, it really is a celebration of our new dog, whose name is Beau, Beau, who is adorable.
Well, there's nothing to be. First of all, I'm a big dog person. My dog got groomed today, finally. So I was very happy about that. So that is something to celebrate. And we'll both celebrate our dogs tonight. I also, when I read that you were from Cherry Point, North Carolina, I was so excited to meet another Carolinian, because I am from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And I know that Cherry Point is about 3 hours, I think, from Myrtle Beach.
I don't exactly know, because I left there when I was very young. We moved constantly during my very young years.
Mm-hmm.
We moved back to North Carolina 3 or 4 times, and different Greenville, and I forget all the cities. And the records are lost because my mother's basement flooded.
Wow.
So it's okay. And but North Carolina is a really, really beautiful state. I wish I'd had more years there as a child. It didn't. And I've always been very fond of it. Beautiful, beautiful state. Lovely people.
Have you ever been to Myrtle Beach?
No, I've never been to Myrtle Beach, because that's in South Carolina.
That's in South Carolina.
Yeah, so I don't think I've ever even been to South Carolina. I've been all over North Carolina, and I had friends from North Carolina, and I visited them, and was a bridesmaid in a wedding in I think Durham, and but I think it's a very beautiful state. And if both of the Carolinas, I'm sure they are alike. And if I were to, I'm not leaving California, but say I were, I would love to probably go back there for sentimental reasons.
Now, you said you were moving a lot. What do you consider, if you were moving a lot, what was your hometown, or do you have a sense of a hometown?
Well, I don't really have a sense of a hometown. Other people have a sense of a hometown for me. But it's not my sense. But no, but we moved so many times. I don't even know how many times. For the military, and then for my stepfather's work, and just a lot of moving. And the place we lived, that we finally settled in when my stepfather got out of. My father was a Marine fighter pilot. And my stepfather was a doctor assigned to the Marines, which is traditional.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have their own doctors, the Marines. They always have a Navy doctor. So he was one of those. And when he got out, he was deployed somewhere in some ocean on some ship. And he had put an ad in the Stars and Stripes, and saying that he was getting out of the military, and he was looking to join an older doctor's practice. So that ended up being a very small town in Arkansas. And so I was there for 11 years. And so that's the longest that we lived anywhere. And then I left very early, 16, 17. And so there you go. That's
Now, I want to thank you. I want to thank Harlan Bowl, who brought all us together tonight, along with Rosa Puzo, who reached out to Harlan to get you here. And I asked Harlan for a photograph of you. I think this is you at 5 years old that I'm going to bring up here. And the reason I asked for a photograph at this point in a person's life is because, to me, it's the purest point in a person's life before life begins telling you who you should or should not be. And I'd like you to tell us a little bit about this little girl.
Oh my God, I didn't know he sent you that one.
I love this photograph.
Actually, you know what? Hold on. Now my iPad is telling me the battery. Wait, just 1 second here, because it's another technical issue.
If you'd like, I can show another clip from the movie while you're setting that up.
This will only take me a millisecond. It's just something's going on, but it's not charged. And because of our earlier technical issues, hold on, where I had to quit my. Okay, it's charging. Hallelujah.
Great.
So I didn't know Harlan sent you that one. I thought he sent you my modeling composite from when I was 3.
Oh, I've got that as well. I could bring that up as well. Just keep talking, and I'm going to bring that photograph up.
But that other one, where I look like a little wild creature. I don't know how old I was. I would say between 5 and 7. And it is actually one of my favorite photos, strangely enough, because it's incredibly unflattering. And my hair is like completely crazy. And but to me, that is the closest photograph to who I actually was and am. Just this kind of wild child who just didn't take no for an answer.
I love that. And did that, and here's the other photograph that, let me see, I'm going to bring this up here. My own technical issues, but I've got it right here. It amazes me that I can do all this. So let's just, here we are. And I think that'll bring us up. We're going to delete that, bring this up. Bear with us, folks. Don't try this at home. I am a professional. So, yes. And here we are. There you are. There it is. Just
yes.
Look at this. I love this.
Yeah, that is obviously a professional composite, Z card, whatever you want to call it. And that was when I was I look very groomed and, kind of perfect. And that was for work. That was to get me more work because I was a toddler model. By that time, we were living in Dallas, Texas. And I was a toddler model for the flagship store there. And so that was my calling card. That series, was there 4? I think there were 4. 3 or 4 photographs.
4. But do you know the story behind how that happened?
How I got the job?
How you began? What did someone spot you, or did your mom pursue this?
No, my mother didn't pursue that. What happened was that my mother was incredibly gorgeous, like crazy gorgeous. And so everywhere we would go, she would attract attention. And she could just stand there in a burlap bag and attract attention. But she was always very well dressed, and so was I. She dressed me very well. And so we were walking down the street in Dallas, and this man came up to us. And you would think, well, my mother, so beautiful. But no, he had come up for me. And he was a rep from Neiman Marcus and said they were looking for little girl models. It was all very up and up. And would she bring me into the office for an interview? And she agreed. And So I don't remember very much about the interview, but I guess it went okay because I got the job. And I was a toddler runway model for Neiman Marcus. And I remember that. And I loved it because I got to wear all these beautiful clothes. And as a child, I was, because of, I guess, my mother and my grandmother was very stylish, both my grandmothers. And so I got that job. That's how it happened.
And for how many years did you do the child modeling?
Well, we moved again. So let's see. I'm going to say a year, maybe a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And then we moved. I think the next place we lived was the naval base in Millington, Tennessee. And I started doing television there. And I think I was 5. I think it was.
No, were you doing local television as a model or as an actress?
It was a variety show. And somehow I ended up on it, and I started doing it, and I did it on and off for the next 8 years. And it was very hokey, corny, and but it was incredible training.
I was going to say it must have been incredible training.
It was incredible training inadvertently, because if you can survive doing something like that, where I wasn't on it every week, but I was on it a lot. And as I got older, they let me create my own performances. So that was a very good thing, because I was already studying dance, and I started studying dance at 3, but I continued to study, and then I was also doing all kinds of other performing arts and fine arts and whatever, as kids like us tend to do. And so I would choreograph a number, I would design the costume, my mother would have it made by a seamstress, I would perform the number, and then I would move on to the next thing. Maybe it was a song that I would sing, maybe it was a poem that I would read, maybe it was, some kind of gymnastics, or it was just really very amateur time. But it was really good training, because really, if you can survive that,
Mm-hmm.
you can survive anything.
As a child doing this and growing up doing this, did it ever seem like work to you, or did it always seem like play, or was it a mixture of both?
I think it was a mixture of both, because I took it very seriously. Because I was the one who was originating it and creating it, and not my mother, not my stepfather. It was me, but certainly they were helping. My mother was helping because I would design a costume, I'd sketch it out, and then we'd go to the fabric store and pick out fabrics, and then we'd go to the seamstress, because I didn't sew, she didn't sew, I still don't sew, she never did sew. But I was good at creating a costume. I created a lot of costumes, and so, but I took it very, very seriously. I knew that was my profession. I already knew that was it. That was it. That was my profession. I didn't know which of the performing arts would I do them all, or would I piecemeal them? Would I just choose one, which is kind of what I ended up doing. But I did them all for a very long time. And then after that, I had this, a teacher can change a child's life. I'm just a very big supporter of teachers. And because I personally had my life supported and changed by 2 teachers in particular, but a lot of other teachers too. I had really good teachers growing up. And so I had this teacher, Mr. Cooper, who I met when I was 13, kind of towards the tail end of my big career on the little talent show. And he was great. He was the band instructor, but he was a musician himself. he was a music teacher. He was just really supportive of this wild little 13-year-old who had these big creative dreams. And he never talked down to me. You know, I'd say, I think I want to do, you know, I heard a song. I think I want to create a dance number to that. And then maybe you can bring in the horns. And he was just right there. He treated me like.
God bless him. God bless that you had that. Were you aware, I mean, you're in the throes of all this, but when were you aware that there was a world of show business beyond this circle that you were in? And you said you already had these dreams. What was that spark that kept you going? I mean, for some kids, it's the idea of being a star. For some, it's being an actress. For some, it's just the sheer work that comes with it. Where did you fit in there?
That's a very good question, Richard. You know, I remember when I first did a stage appearance, a live appearance, and I was 7. And I was the operetta Peter and the Wolf. And I was the bird, the Russian name, the bird. You remember it? I don't remember it right now. But there's, you know, it's Peter and it's the wolf and there's the bird and whatever. And it's operetta. And we did it in school. And I had designed the costume and we'd had it made at the seamstress. It was really funny costume. It was a yellow bird costume with a headpiece and a beak and the whole thing, right? And I came out on stage, and this was, I think, my first, like, what I would call a kind of professional, maybe, stage performance. And I came out and did my bit, and people started applauding. And it was like, oh,
this is it.
They were applauding, right? And so I was flapping my fake bird wings. And the more, and they were trying to get me off the stage. They'd had a hook, you know, they would leave the stage because people were, you know what it's like, people were applauding. And so I just stood there and it was like I had a magic wand, or I had a dial, some kind of a dial that I would stop flapping and jumping around and they would stop applauding. And then I would start flapping my fake wings and jumping around and they would start applauding. And it was like I was controlling them like a conductor. And that was it. It was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And that was it. And then I kept doing, you know, the TV show in Memphis and then started traveling with a little, later, not at 7, but at 13 with Mr. Cooper. Then we started traveling around with a small performing group. And we would go to, you know, other schools and colleges and fairs and all of that. And I got to sing, and I'm not a great singer, but I got to sing and I played an instrument, but mainly I was the dancer and the choreographer. And so I think that's kind of an answer to your question. It's not later. It was when I was 7 and I was flapping those wings and it was exhilarating.
Oh, it's heaven. Now, our friend Larry Blanks is watching. Larry, thanks for being here. And he wants to know, we didn't talk about Millington. He said he was there in the USMC from June 1962 to November 1962. Millington, do you know what he's referring to?
Yeah, because I mentioned it a few minutes ago. Millington, Tennessee.
Yes.
Naval base,
Yes.
where my stepfather was stationed. And it's very near Memphis, just like a little hop and skip. And that's where I started doing TV, was in Memphis. But we were living on the base in Millington. So,
Okay.
yes.
So there comes, you have this experience now of being on stage and knowing that you've got this power. And there comes a point in a person's life in this business where you either go east or west.
Yes.
Let's go first of all, was there a specific moment where you said to your parents, this is truly the path that I want to be on?
No, I did not, because I knew that it would be not taken well, and I would not be supported in that goal. So I actually never said anything. I just kept doing. Yeah, I never did. I started saving money when I was about 13 because I knew I would need money. I had no clue as to how much money I would actually need, but I started saving money for my trip to explore my dream, and that was a secret. Had a little saving
Did you share this secret with anyone, or was it just a secret that you kept to yourself?
to myself. I didn't share it with anybody because I was not in an environment that that it's not support so much. It would be understanding, that would understand a person. I mean, everybody loved my performances and all of that, right? But that was, and my mother told me later, it was just considered that, I was this talented, girl. But then I would come to my senses as I grew up, and I would do something else. I would become a doctor, or I would become a nurse or a school teacher, or something that made sense, right? And to this particular environment. But I had a best friend, and she had similar dreams, but she wanted to be a singer, and unfortunately, she died.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was terrible. After we graduated and we had all these plans, unfortunately, she was killed in a car accident. Right? So, but we had these similar dreams, and so I had her, and she was it. I didn't have anybody else who, I mean, when I look back, everybody thought because I said it, I was going to be a rockette. Okay, I was going to go to New York, and I was going to become a rockette, and that actually could have happened. But then I decided to take another path, and I mean that was my friends, my family, and the adults were. I mean, it just was like I might as well said I'm going to fly to Mars, and that would have been such an unreal thing to do, to say, no, I'm going to get in my car and drive to California. I'm going to become an actress, and I'm going to be successful. I might as well have said, I'm going to fly to Mars, because it would have been just like, no, you're not. You're going to go to medical school, or you're going to do this, or because that's what people do, and that's okay. I don't have any resentment about that. I understand how people think, and I understand how people in a different world think. I just wasn't in that world.
Well, first of all, I'm so glad that you said this, because I can relate wholeheartedly to everything that you're saying. And I used to question whether I grew up in a small town in South Carolina, Conway, just outside of Myrtle Beach. And a lot of people that I went to high school with are still there. They raised their families. They've had wonderful lives. They've stayed there. But my dreams were bigger than that. And I know that when you've got that desire to go further beyond your own circle,
yes.
The question is, and I used to question, are they better off not having those big, big dreams than we are, where that ambition is well, for me, it was an intense burning desire. Was it the same for you?
It was almost violent. It was, I don't mean in a bad way. I mean, it was like I was being pushed by a power greater than myself and pulled. But luckily I had my best friend, but I also had these two teachers. And one of the teachers one day when I already knew, I was already saving my money. And I had at one point, I had researched the New York School of Performing Arts. I'm sure you're very familiar with it, being in New York. Although now it's called LaGuardia. It's got a different name now. But it was the school that Fame was based on, the movie.
Oh, LaGuardia.
Thank you. But
yes,
back
LaGuardia High School, yes. Okay.
New York School of Performing Arts, and I had researched it. And because I knew that was where I needed to be. And research in those days, you didn't go on the internet. You went to the library.
That's right.
And you read newspapers, and you know, it was a different world. And I had also researched where girls my age could live, because I knew that I would get a lot. It would be like, oh no, not New York. So I had researched like not co-ed, but girls only dormitories where girls who came from out of state and went to the New York School of Performing Arts.
The rehearsal club is a very famous club for that. Yes.
Except for I was 13. And so I was a little bit young, but I was one of my plans was to attend high school there. And I was very naive, because I actually thought that my parents would say yes, because it was a very reputable school, and because I had researched these places that girls lived and were chaperoned. And so I had this plan, and I thought I was very smart. And so I presented this plan to my parents, like, look, I need to have better training, and I need to go to someplace. And is that your dog?
That's my dog. You can hear him. Yes. Somebody's walking by the house, I know. So he just saw him out the window. So I'm sorry about that.
With my dog, you know. And I love dogs. And so they were like so horrified. And I begged and I begged and I begged. And it was just a no. So then I had to kind of shift my plans, which I did. And but see, here's the thing that I think everybody has a certain dream, or several dreams. And like people whose dream it is to, you know, be a professional of some kind, whether it's a nurse or, I mean, my grandmother's a nurse, my aunt was a nurse, or if it's to be a school teacher, or if it's to be work in a factory, whatever, right? Your dream is your dream. And I don't look at my dream as any bigger than anybody else's dream. I just look at it as it's a different dream. Whereas my dream was not to stay in a small town. It was not to get married. It was not to have children. Now, I did end up getting married. I did end up having one child, but it was not my dream. I wasn't like the other little girls who would play bride, and I wasn't like that. I was like, wow, what song can I use with that number? You know, that was, but I don't look at that as being better or bigger. I just look at it as being different, because they're dreams. I mean, you know, I have really close friends still back there that I adore, and they were all professional women, all, you know, with careers, but raised families, got married, and stayed there, most of them, and they're successful, very successful people, and have really great lives that I respect and admire. They're not just my life; they're not for me, and my life is not for them. So, you know, we're still good friends because I respect them and they respect me.
How did the move actually take place when it did take place? And do you remember the day that you left and said, I'm on my way?
Yes. Sure. Don't you?
Oh, August 5th, 1979. This Friday night. Yes.
Oh my God. Don't remember it. I remember it was in April. And I had a really horrible thing happen. I was going to college briefly, which I hated, even though I loved, again, I had wonderful teachers. I mean, really wonderful, because I was a theater and a dance major, so I had wonderful teachers. But then this horrible thing happened, and I really should have dropped out of school for that semester, but my best friend, like I mentioned, got killed. And we had no counseling. I had no counseling. I had no one. And it was too much grief.
I lost my best friend when I was in the 6th grade.
You know what?
He was crossing the road and was killed by a car. And I know exactly what you're talking about. There was no counseling at that time in school. All of us kids were like crying our eyes out, and there was no one to go to.
No, I mean, I went home because I had to help her mother, and that was real hard. And I was 17, and so I just kind of lost my way, and because I didn't have, like you said, we had no counseling, we had no grief counseling, we had, even the minister didn't, nobody helped me. I was just supposed to have a stiff upper lip and go on, and really I should have dropped out of school for a semester. Instead, I got kicked out because I just lost my way. And it was actually the best thing, probably one of the best things ever happened to me, because I didn't like school. I didn't like college. I loved my teachers. I loved the performances. I didn't like the restrictive environment. I didn't like being told what to do. I just didn't like it. And I'm not very good at a regimental kind of life. And so it was good. So I just, went back, told my parents, my mother, really, told my mother, and I got in my car and packed up a few things, and that was it. I was gone. And
did you tell them where you were headed or what you were doing, or you just took off?
Oh no, I told them. I wouldn't have done that to them.
Okay.
No, I told my mother, and I actually wrote a one-woman show at one time, years and years later, where I tell this whole story and about how my mother, and we weren't particularly close, but I had respect for her, and but my mother followed my car. In the one-woman show I wrote, she followed the car, behind the car, and I could see her in my rearview mirror, and she walked from the sidewalk out into the street and stood in the middle of the street and watched me drive away. And that was quite a huge moment. And I just drove away. And that was it.
Wow, what a story. And I've got a comment before it disappears, and we're going to get back on track in a second, from Harlan. He says that you work with both Kirk Douglas and Michael Douglas, and he understands from a Facebook post that Kirk wrote you or contacted you just before he passed away.
He did. I had done my first movie with Michael, and that was when Steve McQueen chose me out of 500 girls to star in this movie. Michael had not been hired yet. I was first hired. And then when I got the job for Steve, and he became my mentor, which is quite incredible to have Steve McQueen as your mentor. And then I had a screen test with a lot of, wonderful young actors, and Michael got the job. So that was how we ended up doing that. And then years later,
I just love this picture.
Oh, isn't it great?
And I especially love what you're both wearing in the pictures. I just love this picture.
No, I do too. That was the era. And you can kind of see our relationship there. We had a very playful, funny, but very strict relationship, because he expected certain things from me and taught me a lot. But we had a bond. We had a really more like, it was like a father-daughter because he was actually my parents' age, and so I looked at him as older and somebody you looked up to and that sort of thing. And then years later, I worked with Kirk and did a movie with Kirk and called Eddie Macon's Run. And I can look on my bulletin board. I'm in my office, and I have the letter from Kirk on my bulletin board, because I was doing an interview and Kirk was 100 and I don't know, the last few months of his life, 103 or something like that.
103. What? Yes.
203, something extraordinary, and obviously still very lucid and so forth. And we'd had a great time working together. That's a whole other story that we don't have time for. But so I was doing an interview, talking, and I happened to mention Kirk. And they said, "What was Kirk like?" And I said, "He was a mensch. He was incredible. He was," and I told him this whole story about Kirk, that what he had done for me, and how well we worked together and how well we got along. Because I was way into my career by that time. I was no longer, a young ingenue. I was way into my career. And he was at the tail end of his. But he'd come on the set, and he was like an actor with their first job. I mean, he just was dedicated. He was energetic. He worked hard. He didn't rest on his very substantial laurels. He was a mensch. And he did some very nice things for me, because I had a very difficult situation happen on that film. And he helped me with that situation. And so I was talking about him, and he heard this interview I did. I had no idea how, but he heard it. So then he wrote me this letter telling me he had heard the interview. Thank you for all the kind things that I had said about him, and what wonderful memories that he had working with me. And I got that letter, and it's up on my bulletin board.
What a wonderful memory to have that. I want to go back to Steve McQueen for a moment. I mean, so early in your career to work with his, again, body of work, as I refer to it, just the gravitas. What did you learn from him as an artist and as a human that you've carried through the rest of your life?
Really just a huge amount. I mean, he was, I was nobody, and I came from nowhere, and I had nothing. But I had this fierce ambition, and he was the same. So we had these similarities in our backgrounds and in our personalities. And I rode a motorcycle, he rode a motorcycle. He liked to drive fast cars, I liked to drive fast cars, even though I just had an old beater. I liked to drive fast cars. And we had both left home early with nothing, and no financial help. And so we had that bond. But he knew that I was like very green in the film industry. And so he really took me under his wing. And every day, this is a little bit of an interesting story. He taught me, he wanted me to gain weight because I was doing some modeling. I had gone back to modeling, and when he hired me, and because I was trying to earn money, and I was very, very skinny, because I was a model. And he wanted me to gain weight for the role because he thought I was too skinny, but he wanted me to not gain weight in the wrong way and work out. So he took me under his wing about that, and he would teach me how to work out. And I would go to his office in the morning. It was very, very on the up and up. Everybody was there, and we would work out. And one day I said to him, "So how do you know all this? How do you know these exercises?" Because he was a fitness maniac. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Oh, I have this Chinese martial arts expert, and he teaches me all these things, but he never told me his name." And then years later, when I was being interviewed, because I'm in a lot of books about Steve, the writer said to me, "Do you know who that martial artist was?" I said, "No." And he said, "It was Bruce Lee."
I knew you were going to say this. Unbelievable.
So I was getting by Bruce Lee, third hand by osmosis. And so anyway, Steve taught me so much. He taught me about finance. He taught me about actor's business on a set. Don't ever just stand there. You have something going on. And, if you look at his performances and then later mine, that's what we do. And unless I get stopped, by the director, which is fine. And he taught me a lot of stuff, just, how to behave on a set, how to, because I had done a few commercials, and I was also under contract to Screen Gems, but I'd already tested for Adam at 6 a.m. for Steve, and so it was in my contract that if I got hired, they would not hold me to the Screen Gems contract, and that's what happened. They were wonderful about it, and so he taught me how to, conduct myself on a set, conduct myself, in not a weak way, but have manners, to have set manners, which are very specific to a set. They're not life manners, they're set manners.
And it's great to hear that. I mean, it's really great to hear that the professionalism that he carried about himself. I've got another comment from Brad, and he said, "I love Lee," in capital letters. "She scared the bejeebities out of me in Summer of Fear with Linda Blair. I couldn't sleep for a week."
What a nice compliment.
Oh, so Brad, but you've had the great pleasure of working with so many incredible icons in this business. But Lee, they had the great pleasure of working with you. It's true. Early on, I mean, that gift was very apparent from the very beginning of your career.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That's a great thing. I never thought about that,
Well, it's true. And as your career started to unfold, I've had Davis Gaines on the show, and I quote him all the time on this comment, but because I think it's brilliant. He said, when you go into this business, sometimes you have a game plan. But once you get into the business, it's like being thrown into a pinball machine, because it's all a matter of the people that you meet, the circumstances. Did you have any type of a game plan, and how did things start to unfold for you?
I'm just concerned my iPad is going to die now. I had no game plan. I just, once I met Steve, took maybe 2 years. He talked to me about longevity and take anything you get, and kind of interesting. And so I did. That's what I did. But then I moved to London. That's a whole other story, because I wanted to study Shakespeare and serious drama and so forth. And I wanted to live in London. And so I didn't have a game plan, except for what Steve had taught me about keep working, say yes, and you'll have longevity. And he would have had. I mean, Steve would have turned 90 recent, not this birthday, but a couple of birthdays ago. It's hard to imagine because
I know.
When he was, he died less than a decade after I knew him. So he wasn't really around that long, but he created this huge impact. And I really do think he would have been working, as long as he was healthy, he would have kept working. But so game plan, no, I had no game plan. And things kept happening because I had a horrible car accident. And because I was a dancer, I planned on supporting myself through dance, right? But I had a horrible car accident. I was very badly injured. And so then I was like, oh my God, how am I going to earn a living? Oh, I know, I'll go back to modeling. So I did, went back to modeling, right? And then modeled for a while, and I didn't really like it, but it was a way of earning a living. But then I got, selected by Steve. And then that kickstarted my life, and it kickstarted my career, because even though the movie was not a hit, it was a nice little movie, but it wasn't a hit. But then he introduced me to the press, and then people wanted to work with me. And so that was a kickstart, that who knows how long would have taken me to get that had I not been selected and mentored by Steve. And so, no, I had no game plan. I still don't have a game plan. It's just kind of, I've done a lot of things now, a lot of performances. I've written, I've produced, I've directed. I've had a production company. I've done all kinds of different things. And but really no game plan.
Did you ever have to do any other survival jobs other than being in this business?
Before I came to California, I had truly the worst jobs that you can possibly imagine. Really horrible, horrible, horrible jobs. But I needed the money, and you do what you have to do. And so I was a maid in a resort, and I learned a lot about people from being a maid and how slovenly they can be. And I was just a teenage maid, and I was cleaning up entire families' messes because they thought, we're on vacation, we don't have to clean. Well, you could put the stuff in the trash. You could just do that. You could flush the toilet. How about that? Basics. But it was like, no, they're on vacation and they're going to go crazy. And I learned how to tell where people were from by if they left tips for the maids. And that was really interesting. People from the East Coast always left a tip in the room for the maids. People from the middle part of the country, no tips for maids. People from the West Coast, a chintzy little tip, if anything. And that was really interesting. So yeah, I had these horrible jobs. And then when I first came to California, I worked, this will tell you what era, but I worked in a disco, and I worked all night in a disco, and it was a huge.
No, I lost her. Her chances are her iPad may have died. The energy on that may have died. Hopefully she's going to be back. I'm hoping that she's going to be back as we wrap this up. But one of the things that I do want to, I want to bring, I'm going to show another clip from Carol of the Bells. And we will talk about this on the other side. I hope she makes it back. But if she logs back on, she'll get back. But here she is with Donna Mills in Carol of the Bells.
I was so convinced I was doing the right thing back then.
Yeah, well, we can't change the past as much as I would like to. What matters is what you do now.
I honestly don't know what to do.
Oh, that's easy. You help Carol, your daughter, reunite with her son.
How?
Call him. Invite him over for dinner. Here. Make it for tomorrow. I'll take her back to the center and help her get ready.
Will you join us?
Yes, I would love to.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
And she's back.
No, this has been like a technical challenge. Now my iPad died, even though I have the charging cord in it. And I don't know. Anyway, I'm back. If you want to keep talking.
Well, we are going to run out of time, and I don't want to take too much time of your time. But I do want to ask you, I just showed this other clip. Can you tell us about this film, Carol of the Bells, directed by Joey Travolta, and an amazing, I can't wait to see it, first of all. But what I love about this film is that the casting of the film, and if you can talk about that.
Well, the casting of the film, if you and mind you, we did this film right before the pandemic. You can see it on multiple platforms. You can just type it in and you'll be able to see it. So the casting, R.J. Mitty played the young man and he was from Breaking Bad. He played Bryan Cranston's son, and played the son that had cerebral palsy. And in real life, he does have cerebral palsy. And so Joey runs schools for the differently able, just what he says, and so they can enter into the film industry and in a crew capacity. And they're very, very good. So on that film, Carol of the Bells, I think it was 70% of the crew, I believe, were the differently abled from Joey's schools. So that was quite amazing, actually, because they were great, professional, well-trained, fabulous. The casting, like I said, RJ, and then the woman who played Carol the Bells, she actually has Down syndrome. She's a very good actress, as you can see. And then the trio, Donna Mills and Donna Pascal and myself, played various roles. And, you know, it wasn't like we auditioned or anything. Joey just basically said to our agents, hey, can they do this? And we all said yes, because who's going to turn that down? You know, it was an incredible experience. And so we did it. We went up to Bakersfield and we shot up there. And it was low budget and a great experience. I have to say, it was a really wonderful, wonderful experience. And I got two best girlfriends out of it, you know, Donna P and Donna M.
That's great.
Which was really nice because none of us had ever met before.
Wow.
I know, which you would think, you know, that we would have, but we hadn't. And we all kind of came from different worlds, even though we're all in the film industry, all kind of came from different facets of it. And so that was a big blessing and a big extra, you know, was to get those two women as friends.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
We are going to run out of time, and I want to respect your time, and I want to respect everyone else's time. I am going to do a giveaway, as I do at the end of every show.
Okay.
And this is, we just have a couple of people who have entered, but we have a lot of people watching tonight. So thank you all for being here. We'll see who our winner is.
Thank you.
And it's going to be Pam Stubbs once again. She wins a lot, but
Wow.
she shows up. She comes to the shows, and I'm thrilled that she's here. Don't go anywhere for a moment. I want to say I chose the word boldness because when I think of you and your career, I think of this boldness in the choices that you make as an actress. I think of the boldness that you made now, especially hearing your story tonight, and the trajectory that got you to your career. It's just an amazing story. I want to see your one-woman show. And I also want you to come back when we have more time to talk, because there's so many more stories to tell, so many interesting people that you've worked with. And as I said, they've worked with you. So don't go anywhere for a moment. I want to say to everyone, thank you for being here tonight. I don't take it lightly, as you all know, when you show up. So thank you for being here. Please leave a comment on YouTube. Let us know what you think about the show. Share this with your friends. And please check out Carol of the Bells. That's going to be my guilty viewing pleasure after tonight's show. And I also end every show by talking about, you talked about your best friend and losing her, losing Steve McQueen. Life is a very precious thing.
Yes, it is.
And I end every show by telling everyone to go to your Facebook friends list. Tonight, I'm going to tell everyone to reach out to the 7th name that pops up and reach out with the phone call. Not an email message, not a text message, not a private inbox message. You can try it yourself, Lee. And just let that person know what they mean in your life. As my dear friend Sean Moniger says, we're all in this together, but we're not in the same boat. And I always say, if you're going to go out in a boat, make sure you bring a skipper along. So, Lee, I'm going to leave the screen and I'm going to give you the final word. Anything you want to say about anything that we talked about tonight that you want to build upon, anything that we didn't talk about that you wish that we had, or just any final message that you want to leave with everyone tonight. But before you, and don't worry about how to end, as soon as you say goodbye, the credits will roll. Harlan Bowl, thank you for always being there for me. And also Rosa Puzo, thank you for always being there for me and everyone else as well. Thank you. And Lee, it's all yours. Thank you for being here tonight.
Well, first of all, it's been my pleasure to be here with you, Richard. And I apologize to everybody for all the crazy technical issues. I mean, now I'm on my iPhone. We've come down from the computer to the iPad. Now I'm on my iPhone. And I want to thank everybody who has watched this and who has sent in comments. And even if you didn't send in a comment, I want to thank you very much. It means a lot to me that you do have interest. And I know you're big fans of Richard, and rightfully so. And follow me, reach out to me on social media. I think Richard is going to put it up. I think he's going to put it up, but I'm on I'm on Facebook, and I'm on Twitter, and I'm on Instagram, and I have my own website, leepurcell.com. So I would love it if you would reach out to me. And if you have any other questions that we weren't able to answer because of all the crazy technical issues, let me know. Reach out to me. And but reach out to me publicly, because I really don't answer Messenger, but publicly I will answer you. And I just like to say that, if you have a dream that you haven't done yet, that you haven't fulfilled yet, it's not too late. I know that's a cliche. I know that. But I'm telling you right now, it's not too late. You can still pursue your dream. You can pursue your dream in any way that you choose. And your dream is your dream, whatever it is. So thank you for being here. Thanks a lot. Goodbye.